Welcome back, my Planet Coaster friends. Johnny5 Live here, and today we're going to be doing a quick video on the Chief of Beef Raceway setup. So stay tuned and let's check it out. This is the 2,000-piece blueprint Chief Beef Raceway that I constructed. If you haven't seen the presentation video, go check that out. It's up on my workshop now, and there is a little bit of setup required with this because I did some unique stuff to it. So this tutorial will not only show you how to set it up, but it'll also teach you guys some pathing tricks. We're going to start fresh with a new one here, and I just dropped this guy into the ground, so that looks like a good spot for it. Now, as you can see here, there's custom bleachers that I made. You want to be able to have it so your guests can interact with it, and I also have these stands and this. So I think the first way to start off, do the easy stuff first. So if we go into our paths and we grab probably this guy, take your path width down to 4 and your length down to 1, and if you hold the shift button, it'll allow you to elevate it. And you can simply bring this guy right up here and try and center it, and now that's going to allow you to drop a Chief Beef on top, and then the same thing is going to be done over here for your first, second, and third racing winners. And these platforms are just here as a little bit of a fun way to make it so you can interact with have the entertainers interacting with the guests as if they're part of the, I guess, show. So you're gonna have this problem here where it wants to auto connect. So this is a tip here, guys. If you hold the control button, it's going to disconnect itself. So if you hold control and shift, now you can make sure that they're not trying to snap together, and you can still raise it up and down. Let go of shift until you find that sweet spot. There you have it. Now we're going to get the same problem here, so we hit control again, control and shift, find the sweet spot, and there you have it. And now we can go into our entertainers. And this is just a fun little tip for you guys if you're ever thinking of doing a raceway or whatever. You can drop a Chief Beef here now, and he's going to stand at the top. And even if you have a path down below, he is able to entertain from up there, and the guests will still crowd around him. Then he's kind of like the flag waver, and then we're going to need... you know, you can do this however you want, but Cosmic Cow is kind of like the sidekick to Chief Beef, so I feel like that's appropriate. And then I figured King Coaster, because this is a coaster blueprint. So now you have your first, second, and third winners, and that's a pretty easy setup. Now the queue is pretty straightforward. I don't think anyone will have a hard time with this. Essentially, so the entrance just goes here, exit goes here, pretty straightforward. You pop this out here. You might even want to do 4 meters thick. Make the stairs go off to the side. It kind of goes underneath like this. And I just decided to wrap it around this guy. That's kind of why I had him there like this. And then there you have it. Now your main path will just connect there. Something like that. And then you could just wrap this around the front garden here. So nothing complicated here. This one here, just pop it out, bring it down. Now hold control because it's going to want to try and connect itself to one of those. So the real trick here is the control. So now the next thing you're going to want to do is to set up this. Now this might seem a little bit complicated to people that don't really understand the grid system. So if we go into select grid, it's going to allow us to select different elements. This bottom right hand corner, we could select the grid. So what you want to do is you want to find the grid at the top for all these shops, and essentially you just want to fill it. I think you want to do an overhang as well. I'll explain that in a second. So you just fill it and then overhang, and then that's pretty good. You can get the rest after, and then we're going to want to go down a layer. So you're going to deselect the grid again, select the grid again. And now we want to find the middle shop. So sometimes it gets a little bit finicky. Now depending, I mean, you might want to work your way around certain levels depending if you're having a hard time selecting the grid. Like I was having a hard time selecting the grid up here for some reason. So if we start here, it might be easier to work our way upwards. So it's going to take a little bit of fiddling And you just have to deselect the grid every once in a while until you get back. Now this one, I can't seem to get it quite leveled. So I'm hoping that if we... for whatever reason, I was having an issue with that. I wasn't able to do it. I didn't have an issue with it before. But see, now it's popping to this one. So I don't know why it wasn't popping to that one like it should have been. You can hold shift to move it up and down to get it right in spot. So I just put an extra shop in, which is kind of annoying. I wish I didn't have to do that, but you can duplicate the shop and bring it in, and that should kind of fix your issue if you're having issues. And then we could select the grid for the very bottom one here. And there you have it. You made it to the bottom. And essentially you can just fill all this. You can even fill this here. And what's good about this is you're going to be able to turn it into an interactive bleacher now. Now that shop, I don't know why it was doing that, but that's the quick fix. A little bit annoying. I don't know why it wasn't giving me problems before. And now that you have these little overhangs, you can pretty much just connect them into the path. Sometimes it'll do a little bit janky stuff, but it's not... If you just remove the path and build it again, it should usually fix your problem. There you go. And then we just basically just dropping the paths in. Now see, sometimes it'll do that, but if you go to the other side, it'll allow me to connect it. Connect the shops. There it is. We're going to bring this guy down. Pop, pop. And these ones should pop as long as you have curved slopes might help. But it seems to be working without it. Now this one can be a little bit strange. You can build it this way. I did actually have it coming around before, but there's multiple ways of doing it. But that way should work just fine. You can fill in the tops after if you want. And did I miss any? We gotta pop this guy in. See, it should pop like that. That's how I was trying to do it before. For some reason, I wasn't able to do it. That's alright. Nonetheless, it works great. And that's all of them connected, guys. So now guests will come up here, buy drinks. Now obviously you can go in here and grab your benches. I don't recommend using these benches even though they look the best. The guests will actually sit whichever way they choose. So they might face the wall, they might face outward. So I highly recommend using either the sci-fi benches or just these wooden benches. I feel like the sci-fi ones look better. And you could just lay these out along your walls, put some trash bins up top, and all that good stuff. And you'll have interactive bleachers. The guests will come up, buy a drink, go sit down, and they will watch the race. Another little final touch that you can do to improve this, like the way I had it in the video. Depending on the map that you're on, I highly recommend just painting in like anything gravelly or dark looking. For this one, it is the tropical map, and I think it's just dirt. And then that'll give you just kind of like a pavement look. Anything dark and rocky is what I recommend filling the inside of the track with. Because when the light hits the green grass, it might not look the best. And then I also went in here and I decided to just kind of make this area look kind of like clay or something. And just to give it a little bit different context. Just a different texture back here. And then obviously the front, you're going to want it to be as green as possible because you have these little planters and stuff. And then I guess the last thing I didn't do here was connect the paths. There you go. So when the guests walk past here, these people will actually be entertained and they will gather around these people, which is really cool. All this will work properly. The exit works properly. The upper deck area works properly. A little bit finicky to set up, but I think it's worth it at the end. It gives you a really neat effect. I did want to try it, and while I was building this thing, guys, I think this was my biggest regret because it took so many pieces in order to do it. I do like the way both Riddler Revenge did his stands, and as well as Lauren's Cosmic Cow Raceway. However, for whatever reason, I felt like it would be really neat to try this out and have it so the guests would come up here, interact, and sit down. And it was an experimentation. It worked out. As long as you're okay with getting it to work and it's a little bit finicky. I made a video showing how I did it. I think it's worth it at the end of the day. It's really interesting. But in terms of part count, I probably could have gotten rid of this, made something cooler. I mean, made something more simple and used those parts elsewhere. But I really feel like I used my parts quite well. I had I essentially built everything that I wanted to build, so I'm pretty happy with it. But in the future, I'll probably try avoiding this because it is a little bit of just planning this and getting my head to wrap around this. It was a little bit of work, and if you don't want to set up the paths, it just kind of seems like a waste, I guess. So that's why it's my regret, is if somebody doesn't set up the path or doesn't know how to set up the paths, it could, or they get frustrated with setting up the paths, it could look a little bit strange, but it still represents the bleachers pretty good. So nonetheless, I think it worked out. And then I guess the last thing you can do, which is what I did, is take your longest path, and I thought it was kind of nice to just wrap pathway around the entire raceway. I did it a little bit cleaner with a shorter piece, but I just want to show you guys this real quick. So I quickly deleted the other raceway to force people to leave this area and come over to this new area that we set up. Just wanted to show you guys the traffic flow and how it works. So as you can see, they're stopping at the entertainers. They're getting entertained from the first, second, and third winners, and they're all coming into this queue up into the building, into the little diner thingy here. And then guests will start coming up here to buy food and drinks and stuff like that. They'll use the restroom down here. If you want to make it so they don't walk over edges, you can also use the trash bin trick, or the trash bin trick, sorry, can't speak, and that'll force them to go around. So if there's any parts where they're kind of cutting through, maybe you want them to take a wider turn, you could simply do that by putting some trash bins down. But see, she's sitting down to watch the races, and if you fill all the areas up with benches, as the traffic flow and more guests start coming into your parks, this whole upper deck area will be filled up with sitting people. So I think it was worth it at the end of the day. It was quite a fun experiment. In order to really get it filled up, though, you're going to have to fill some stuff around here. And I also recommend you guys check out my other blueprints. If you go see them online, I've kind of made it so that my other blueprints fit in nicely. So you could put a Chief Beef factory beside this. You could put another one here if you want, or you can take my little diner and set up my little diner next to it. Also, any of my other ones would work, like my Missy Goods. It would probably fit nice and snug right next to it on either side. Planet Gulpy, any of that. So I kind of left this space between the bleachers so that you could put more shops or rides or whatever you want. And yeah, there it is, everybody. So hopefully it's not too hard for you to set up, and if it is, hopefully this video helped you guys figure it out. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the Chief Beef Raceway. The links will be down in the description below if you want to download this and put it in your park. Alright, everybody, that's going to do for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now.